रस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुर्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवद्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् संबभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणगुं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। शान्तिः। आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्रचक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो इन्द्रियार्वं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मा ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मानीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः। अनेनाधितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। भद्रं नो अपि वातय मनः Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhadran karnebhih shrunuyama devaah. Bhadram akshebhih yajatraah. Sthirairangai istushtuvaagumsastanubhih. Vyashema devahitan yadayuh. Swasti na indro vridhashravah. Swasti nः पूषा विश्ववेदाः. Swasti नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः. Swasti no बृहस्पतिर्दधातु. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yo Brahmanam vidadati purvam. Yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai. Tam hadevamatma buddhi prakasham. Mumukshur vai sharanamaham prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let's do all the 7 verses of the Upanishad because they all come in today's lesson. So let's start from the very beginning. You can just follow after me because we have not done it for a while. Starting with the first verse. Om ityetad akshara idagum sarvam. Om ityetad akshara idagum tasya upabhyakhyanam. Bhuktam bhavavishyaditi sarvam onkara eva. Bhavavishyaditi sarvam onkara eva. Yachanyat trikalatitam tadapyonkara eva. Sarvagum hi etat brahma. Ayam atma brahma. Soyam atma chatushpat. Jagrita sthano bahish pragyah. Saptang ekona vimshati mukha. Sthula bhuk vaishvanaraha prathamapadah. Swapnasthano antah pragyah. Saptang ekona vimshati mukha. Pravivikta bhuktaijasho dvitiya padaha. Yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate. Na kanchana swapnam pashyati tat sushuptam. Sushuptasthana eki bhutaha. Pragyana ghanaha. Eva anandamayaha. Hya anandabhuk cheto mukhaha. Pragyastritiya padaha. Esha sarveshvaraha. Esha sarvagyaha. Esha antaryami. Esha yonihi. Sarvasya prabhavapyayau hi bhutanam. Na antaf pragyam. Na bahish pragyam. No bhayataf pragyam. Na pragyana ghanam. na pragyam, na apragyam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekatma pratyayasaram, ekatma pratyayas prapancha upashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante, sa atma, sa vigneyaha. Now in the sixth verse, which we have done, Esha Sarveshwaraha, Esha Sarvagyaha, Esha Antaryami. So these three concepts, Sarveshwaraha, Sarvagyaha, and Antaryami, is taken up in great detail at various places. And in the ends, a whole lot of verses in each one of these three. Very beautiful one. Sometimes we will take that up. Very important one to give us a very clear idea of how Sarvagyatvam, Ishvara, and in fact the Jiva. So the Jiva and the Ishvara being very similar in those things. So the Sarvagyatvam of both the Chetana Vastu, Jivatma as well as Paramatma, is explained in great detail. And the same thing is there for Sarvagyaha. What does Sarvagyaha mean? We have done it to a certain extent when we did that, but in reviewing the 6th chapter of the Panchadashi, I was struck by how well explained these concepts are. And then the Antaryami. So hopefully we'll do that in some detail at some time to come. So now, if you remember, now we have started the 7th verse. Na antaf pragyam, na bahish pragyam, and so on. So in the 2nd verse, there was a pratigya made. Pratigya means that a promise was made which said Atma Chatushpad, that the self that we are studying, our own nature, our Swarupa, has 4 quarters to it. And the first 3 quarters were explained in considerable detail, and those were, as you know, Antaf Pragyam, and then Sushupti Avastha, that is the so Swapna Avastha, Jagrat Avastha, and Sushupti Avastha. All 3 were the 3 padas. So there is something which is missing, because it says it has 4 padas and only 3 have been described so far. So what about the 4th one? So here it is started with na antaf pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na ubhayataf pragyam. So here an objection is raised, and he says, if you're going to explain something positively, definitively, like you're saying, supposing you talk about a person, and so tell me about, he says, I want to describe to you about this person. He says, okay. It is not this person. Okay, I understand that. It is not that person. So now I'm getting a little impatient, because the number of people that this person is not is very large. How long are you going to go, this is not this person, this is not that person? What's going on? Why don't you, you're telling me I'm going to describe to you the 4th. To describe the 4th pada. Why you're saying not this, not this, not this, not this? So here is an important thing. So we should be very clear about this and very conversant with the concept of this. So it is said, so this is what is called, there is a term in Vedanta called Samana Sattaka and Vishama Sattaka. Samana Sattaka, Vishama Sattaka. Samana Sattaka means things that have the same degree of reality. And Vishama Sattaka means things whose level of reality is not the same. So in the case of describing a person, and you have 4 people there, and you say, let me talk about this person, they have Samana Sattaka. So when you have Samana Sattaka, means they have the same degree of reality, then you don't need to say it is not this, it is not that. Because when you point out a person, then the recipient can immediately see that this is not that person. It's obvious. So in the case of Samana Sattaka, a direct description of the Vastu is appropriate. Not so in Vishama Sattaka. In Vishama Sattaka, you cannot directly go to a person. It doesn't work. And so here, for example, in the very famous example of the rope and snake, if a person is displaying some symptoms of being affected by the understanding that this is a snake, which is a wrong understanding, but it creates a certain emotional response, because the manaha always follows buddhi. Buddhi is the leading person and the manaha follows it. So the buddhi says, I think this is a snake. There's something dangerous. And the manaha then starts reacting. Because you have samskaras of a snake. What can a snake can do? It's a live thing. It is not just sitting there. It can attack you. It can kill you. So the manaha then goes haywire based on the buddhi. But here the principal thing is that the buddhi has a concept about something which is not Samana Sattaka. It is Vishama Sattaka. Vishama means defective. That's what it means. Technically Vishama means one which is not true, which is defective. So the reality of a snake and the reality of the rope are not the same. There is some confusion. So the length of the rope is being imported into the length of the snake. The width of the snake, of the rope, is being imported into the width of the snake. Everything is being borrowed, and then something more happens, which the rope doesn't have. So all those confusions happen. So in order to show the reality of the rope, they said the important thing is to say this is not a snake. Because if you say this is a rope, you might have a confusion that you're talking about something other than a snake. There's a possibility. Normally not, it'll be only one thing. But you'll say, supposing you say this, I think there is a snake in the corner and I'm getting scared. And the other person says there is a rope. So the person may think that there are two things. There is a rope and there is a snake. So therefore, a Nishedha Vakya. Nishedha Vakya means the one which denies the existence. It's the starting point. It is very important. So if somebody is mistaken about the ropeness of the rope and says it is a snake, the best thing is to say it is not a snake. And here Swami Maheswaranji points out so well. He says, you know, the importance of saying that is that while you are seeing it as a snake, it is not a snake. It is not a snake. So when you say this is not a snake, it doesn't mean it will not be after a while. It never was, it never is, and never will be. So the Nishedha Vakya, so the denial, the Vakya, the sentence of denial is a very important one. So this is when we say naiti, naiti, naiti. Because here, as we have seen before also, we'll continue to see that, I'll be very clear about it, the Atma doesn't need to be shown. It doesn't need to be shown. Why? Because it is self-existing. What needs to be shown is the false superimposition upon it. In the case of the rope, perhaps the rope has to be pointed out. You know, you can say this is not a snake. And then the person will say, okay, I believe you, I get it, but then what is it? Then you can say it's this rope. But in the case of Atma, that is even not necessary. The second step is not necessary. Because it is never a paroksha vastu. It is never away from you. A rope can be away from you, and so you need to have your eyes open, rub your eyes, and so on. But in the case of the Atma, that is not the case. I am what I am. But what I am is being confused about. So therefore, the Shruti resorts to na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam. It is the fourth state is, which is called the Turiya, is being designated as something which it is not. As Swami Maheswaranji points out, he must be from experience. They've been traveling in trains in India. So you get into a train which is very, especially the third class and the second class, so on and so forth. You get into it, somehow or the other, the train only stops for like a couple of minutes, and you have your luggage, and then you're quickly going in, and you have your family. We've been all through that. And you go in, and there's no place to sit down. It's already occupied. Everybody is just, there's no place to sit. So then the train now starts, and you find that there are some big people occupying a seat which, if they just collect themselves, can create a space for me. So he requests them very carefully, depending on who they are. If they are big, gunda-like people, then you just stand. You don't disturb them. But if they're nice people, he says, sir, can you please move? And so on. And they will themselves move. So Swamiji says, look at this. When you say create a space, you don't really create a space. What you do is to vacate your presence in that space. So you're looking for space. But you don't say, can I please have some space? You cannot get it from anywhere. So when you want to get some space in your carry-on, you just readjust the things that are impeding the space in the carry-on. This is what happens sometimes. My wife and I, we travel, and then we both travel. Now we have become good travelers. We used to carry a big stuff, but it was interesting. This is like about 20 years ago. The carry-ons, this is one of the greatest inventions of all time. You know, this is interesting. Swami Dayananda used to say that. He says, you know, you would think that human beings are very smart and they will just do everything. How many years did we go through without a carry-on that has some simple wheels? You can see that. It doesn't strike us. It's amazing. Suddenly there was a pilot who said, you know, I think it'll be a good idea. And now if you don't have a carry-on, you are foolish. Anyway, I remember my wife and I were, this is like 20 years ago, I was working for Hewlett Packard and I went for a business meeting in Geneva. And my wife generally would not travel with me because our kids were young. And so this time I said, please come with me. I used to request with her. So she said, okay, I'll come. So I says, Pami, there's one thing that I have to tell you. I'm going about 5 or 6 cities and I don't want to check in luggage. She says, how am I going to go? Because, you know, I need some clothes and so on and so forth. I says, that's the condition. So she also got into a carry-on. I also have a carry-on. And we did fine. And since then, unless we go to India for like a month or so, we don't carry big ones. But here's what happens. When we are filling our carry-ons, she will say, can I have space from your carry-on? And of course, we you know, these are negotiations. I said, no way. No, I cannot. She says, please, I need some space. So then you say, okay. Then you squish your things one side and let her take up. And sometimes vice versa. Why am I just blaming her? I can also do the same thing. But in creating space, you don't create space. It's already there. The Atma is also exactly the same. This is a very important thing. We're just sort of casually discussing it and as a concept and so on. But the sheer importance of this for our freedom is incredible. So what happens is that my estimation of myself has a lot of unnecessary things. Lot of things. First of all, it has a lot of things, and every one of them is unnecessary. And you're traveling. You have a combination of necessary and unnecessary things. Some things are necessary, like if I'm going there, I need to have a shaving kit and so on and so forth. You know, some shirts and undershirts and so on. But this is a good thing to do when you come back from a trip. How many things you never used? How many things? And my wife has become very experienced, and she's actually taught me. She says the best thing is to carry clothes that are black in color. Black in color, because you can use it one more day without, you know, having spots or anything like this. So anyways, some things that you're carrying may be necessary. In the case of Atma, everything that I am loading on top of it is completely unnecessary. What it means is all of them have to be removed. And if I remove, starting with one or two things, because it's just like that, you know, you ask a traveler, hey, you're carrying too many things. And he says, no, I need it. What are you talking about? What about this? No, I need that also. So you always have a feeling that I need it. Similarly, our feeling is that I need my body. I need thinking. I need relationships. And I need to be alive. Prana. And so on. And in fact, I have an entire set of things that I am totally convinced I need. And unlike the travel, I don't need any one of them. The only thing I might need is the opportunity to figure out that I don't need them. That much we grant you. If my understanding is not quite clear that I don't need any one of them, then I might need the help of some mind, guru, thinking, only temporary. But the eventual thing I have to see is I don't need anything. I am an independent person. Swatasiddha, Swayam Prabha. I am just by myself. I don't need it. This is the confusion that I have. So this is what is called Vishama Sattakaha. So in Vishama Sattakaha, you cannot take a positive approach. That won't work because it is not Samana Sattakaha. You are confusing your reality with things that you are putting on top of it. Just like you are confusing the reality of the rope by putting some new things that rope never even touched. So therefore, the Atma has to be revealed from negation. Just like, for example, a traveler, is what happens to our younger ones when our kids and grandkids, it's very normal. You overpack, thinking I don't want to run out of things. And you say, no, you don't need this. And it slowly grows over the traveler, as it did to all of us, that really we overpack. There's no reason to overpack. You just don't need it. So similarly here also, the Shruti slowly has to educate us. You don't need it. And you cannot say you don't need anything, like I said. That comes later. But you start with one or two things and you say you don't need this. And of course we protest. What do you mean? I need it? How can you say I don't need it? Trust me. This is where Shraddha is important. Trust me. Please. You will see you don't need it. Try it. Go to your travel by underpacking. When you come back, you'll have a smile on your lips and you'll say, wow, he was right. She was right. I could travel without it. So similarly here also, the Shruti is saying, please, please, don't you see you are like the Chidakasha? You are like the consciousness space, which is independent. You don't need anything, nothing. You came without anything, you're going to go without anything, and in the meantime, you're just putting things on top of you. Please see this. I know you don't quite see it, but please see this. This is the truth. So this is how the Shruti starts. This is an important thing to see. Na antah prajna. So the fourth, the Turiya, is, it's just exactly like when you're describing the contents of your carry-on. And you say in the carry-on, you have 4 things. So really 4 things, what are the things? They have these carry-ons are it's just amazing how clever these are defined. Nowadays, you must have seen this. I don't need it anymore because I don't work anymore. But when I used to work, I used to carry a suit with me to go to a customer and so on and so forth. And there are these beautiful things that are there. You can put a hanger on it and put a 3-fold, and it's on the separate compartment. And it was amazing. I cannot believe it. And the suit was fine. There was not that many wrinkles. So you can describe a carry-on with having four things. Here's pocket number 1 where you can put a suit. Here's pocket number 2 where you can put your shoes. Here's pocket number 3 where you can put your main clothes. And then there is space. Still some space is left over. This is the 4th one. Then you say, where is the 4th one? Well, the 4th one is already there. And in fact, it is in and through all the other pockets. It is sarva vyapakaha. So Swami Maheshananji also points out that really if you want to gauge the progress of your understanding, then the best way to gauge the progress of your understanding, how well you are doing, is to assess how vyapakaha you are. Vyapakaha means how pervasive. Because in the starting point, my pervasiveness is very restricted. It is just here now. I'm moving, I'm changing, my hand is moving. This is how pervasive I am. And you have to see this is not correct. You have to see that the consciousness, the Atma, the Samvit is totally pervasive. I have to see that. And it slowly, it will dawn on me. Yes, it is present in my mind and my buddhi. This is where I can feel it, right here, as a Chetana Vastu. That's just because the mind is capable of reflecting the Atma with Chidabhasa. It's very much like if the sun is shining and the sunlight is all over, it's possible that you may have a mirror on the wall that reflects the sun more clearly than the wall. That's true. It all depends on the reflecting surfaces. I'll remind you again, this is when I first realized this was just an amazing thing for me, is that really when you see the sunlight, you really are not seeing the sunlight, you are seeing the reflection of the sunlight in the air particles. Because in the stratosphere, you go away from the stratosphere into Akasha, the sun is there but you don't see it. It's complete darkness because there is no reflecting. What a creation of Ishvara, just think about it. The sun is there, but unless you create an atmosphere with some oxygen particles and whatever, carbon, and I have no idea, all the things, you cannot reflect it and the light is not visible. Atma being there everywhere. As we will see in the Vakyas today. But it may be specially visible in my mind. And especially visible in my body becoming Chaitana, being alive. Because you cannot stick a pin in my body like you can stick a pin in the table. It would protest. So that means it's reflecting the consciousness. But reflecting the consciousness has nothing to do with consciousness. The sunlight has nothing to do with the absence or presence of sun. The sun is there all the time. So slowly I have to turn my attention towards the pervasiveness of the Atma. That in this life I have taken on this form of the body-mind is okay. It doesn't violate it. But really I am like the Chidakashaha. So it's very much like the space in your carry-on. If there are things, then it appears to impede space. But nothing impedes space. It is all pervasive. So Swami Maheshananji points out that please reflect on it and grasp the pervasiveness, sarva vyapakatvam of the Atma, and gauge your progress. Are you able to at least see it, feel it? So that is the now we could, with that background. So it is it's very much like in the first chapter when Arjuna asks Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha. So Arjuna says, for a Jivan Mukta, a realized, so-called realized person, how does he look? How does he talk? He or she talk? How does he behave? What does he look like? Where's his eyes? Are they all closed all the time? Open? What does it look like? So Krishna replies to him when his desires are no longer, he describes the Sthita Prajna as ones whose mind is no longer enclosed by the desires. So Arjuna says, wait a second, you're not answering my question. I'm asking you, what does the Sthita Prajna look like? And you're telling me something totally different. So by this, now that it doesn't matter what he looks like. That is not, it's not as though somebody is, oh, a long beard and only then, nothing like that. You can do anything, you can look like anything, but the key thing is, what's his existence? Is it a dependent existence or not? So it's interesting, just for a minute. You know, the way the things is, I actually give permission to my thinking to enclose me. I read this somewhere, which is very fascinating. It's kind of like, you know, you tell someone, please handcuff me. He says, really? Yeah, handcuff me. He says, okay, I don't know why, but all right. So he gets some handcuffs and he locks it. Then we say, why did you handcuff me? I can't move. It is very similar to that. We give permission, and unwittingly, of course, it's not as though I'm to blame. The only blame is exactly unwittingness, because of the ignorance. I give permission to all the things that I have in my possession, mind, body, etc. I give them permission to enclose me. And then I complain about it. This is a fact. And so the only Sthita Prajna, the Lakshana of a Sthita Prajna is not what he looks like, but what the Sankalpa is, what is the thinking, and so on. So there, the reason I went into this tangent is because in the Bhagavad Gita also, the answer was not direct, but appropriate. It doesn't matter whether the answer is direct or not. It's appropriate. Similarly here also, the Chatushpad, the fourth state, is not direct. So therefore, the question which says, I asked you, you made a pratigya in the second one, the Atma Chatushpad. You've described the first three. You have not described the fourth one. So he says, I know, but there is a reason why I cannot describe the fourth one. It is in fact not this, not this, not this, and so on. So now we can quickly go through this. The Karika itself will go into a lot of details about all of this. So we'll see. So I think I'm just going to not spend as much time, just give you more of a word meaning. But I think it will come, the descriptions will come. So here, so starting with na antaf pragyam. So here means that this is not our experiences within our own thoughts. So as we saw, it's not just in the dream state. In the dream state, everything that you are experiencing are your own thoughts, 100%. Because you have shut down your indriyas. And so all your experiences in the dream state are antaf pragyam. But even in Jagrat Avastha, in fact, the majority of the time, you are experiencing your own thoughts. We've already seen that. That was an important distinction. We saw the karikas associated with that. I don't remember exactly which one, but we have gone through that, which means that, and so here it is not says swapnavastha, it says na antah pragyam, means that there is an existence, the associated experience that you have when you have your own thoughts. This is exactly what happens. You look at some people, you look at the situation, and now that triggers your own thoughts. Why am I doing this? Is this the right thing to do? I think this is not right. All of that, thoughts. So even in the Jagrat Avastha, your antah prajna is there. So it says no. Atma. You may be loading on top of the Atma, but that's not what it is. Na bahish pragyam. Bahish pragyam means when you are very much involved with what your indriyas tell you. You're tasting, you're eating, you're listening to music, when you're watching, reading the news, all that is bahish pragya. So here is the outside this, the pragya, the consciousness, the thinking, which is controlled by things outside of you, is called bahish pragya. So he says, na antah pragya, na bahish pragyam, sorry, na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na ubhayatah pragyam. Ubhayatah pragyam, here we discussed this very briefly in the last class 2 weeks ago, that in between your sleep and Jagrat Avastha, there is a state where you're neither asleep nor fully awake. And it appears kind of like a peculiar state. So it's interesting, you wake up, and I've mentioned it to you before, it's a very useful thing to pause after you wake up, pause before you committed headlong into the Jagrat Avastha. It automatically gives you a hint, and you should develop the habit of spending maybe a minute or so just yourself. Who am I? And so what you will find is that the first thought that comes to you when you wake up from a sleep is, I am. Then the series of thoughts envelop you, what I am. But here, this is the in-between state. You're neither fully awake nor asleep. You're somewhere in between. Is that what the Atma is? Nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Anything which that is also superimposed on yourself. Na ubhayatah pragya. Na pragyana ghanam. So pragyana ghanam is the state of total sleep, deep sleep. So we went through this word quite a bit when we studied that. So pragyana ghanam means that maybe then what I am is just undifferentiated consciousness. That also I am not. That also I am not, because the undifferentiated consciousness, yes, where all the buddhi and manaha, etc., are completely absent, they have gone into the seed state. They have gone into the seed state. But you do not have a positive recognition or of yourself. Who am I? So just having total darkness, it's interesting. You can actually see this of your eyes, especially at nighttime, because during daytime there's still some light coming in. You can probably close your eyes like this, but in nighttime you close your eyes and it's complete darkness. And let's say your mind is very quiet. It's not, you're just breathing and nothing is going on. Is that what Atma is? No. Even that is not Atma. Yeah, it's interesting. There was a student that recently wrote to me an email, and I replied to him. And so I'll just mention that on the side. So he was saying that when I am in samadhi, he's from the yoga background, yogic background, and then so perhaps does some meditation and so on. I don't know him that well. So when I'm in samadhi, then there is no mind, no nothing. So is that me? So I replied to him just recently in the last couple of days or so that listen, the way the Vedantic meditation is taught. So there are two forms of Vedantic meditation. So one is Savikalpa Samadhi and one is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So in Savikalpa Samadhi, in very simple terms, I won't go into a lot of detail, you have a clear distinction between yourself as the meditator and what you are meditating on. So this is the Savikalpa Samadhi. And if you continue in Savikalpa Samadhi for a while, then what happens is that this distinction between the meditated and the meditator blends together. And what is left is meditation, just the state of meditation, where the mind also is absent. So the Nirvikalpa Samadhi is not enlightenment. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi is difficult to achieve, is equivalent to deep sleep. This you should understand. Hence, very interesting. Ishvara and his blessings gives you Nirvikalpa Samadhi without even asking every night. You don't have to struggle for it. You don't have to learn, you don't have to go to these Buddhist classes, what is it called? The 10-day Vipassana. You don't have to go to Vipassana. You have to spend the money for it and go through the pain of where they strike you if you're something. Some strange things I've heard. You don't have to do any of that, because if you are a very successful Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you'll be like deep sleep. You already have it free. Why is it not enlightenment? Because the distinction between yourself as an independent entity and the superimposition of other things on top of you is not clear. So the enlightenment only comes when you are able to see it does not matter whether I have thoughts or not. In fact, you need thoughts floating around in your mind, whatever, doesn't matter. And then be able to see. This is what is called Brahma Akara Vritti. Brahma Akara Vritti means that there is a positive identification of yourself as an independent entity, and the rest of the things have a Vishama Sattakaha. So it is not a question of Samana Sattakaha. So really speaking, a Nirvikalpaka Samadhi or a deep sleep is Samana Sattakaha. Because if one is, the other one is not. This is why the experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi or sleep is very pleasant. Because I don't want the unpleasantness of being awake. As soon as the awakeness comes, immediately say, I have to go to the office, this is going to happen, no, my boss is not good, all kinds of things happen. I would much prefer to be independent and not be thinking about that. But that approach is Samana Sattakaha. See that? See clearly. And that is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is to see that the Jagrat Avastha is Vishama Sattaka. How is that enlightenment going to come? Through study, through thinking, through vichara. It's a totally different thing altogether. So therefore, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is not enlightenment. This is the distinction between the yogic thinking and the Vedantic thinking. So, na bahish pragyaha, na antaf pragyaha, na ubhatah pragyaha, na pragyana ghanam. It is not just like pragyana ghanam is mean nirvikalpa samadhi in a way, or is this kind of like a sleep state. I think the two are very similar. Not I think, I can tell from all the teachings that I've learned that is the case. Na pragyam, na pragyam, na apragyam. So here, it's very interesting, Swami, it just happens that way. Swami Maheshanji on page 246 of this Hindi book says, Na pragya se nirvikalpaka bodha rahitata batai. So, na pragya means it is not mere consciousness. Because, you may in the Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, which actually, it's interesting, there is a slight difference between Nirvikalpaka Samadhi and deep sleep. See, because in Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, your subtle thinking is, I am conscious. You don't even have that in deep sleep. Even though you are conscious and you can recall it later on, but you don't feel while you are asleep that I am conscious. In Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, it's very possible that you may feel I am conscious. That's not enlightenment. Even a Jivatma, with all the problems that we have, you ask somebody, are you conscious? They'll say, of course. What are you talking about? Na pragyam, na apragyam. Apragyam means jadam. It's not as though the Atma ever becomes inert. It has inertness that can be superimposed upon it, but it itself is not inert. Like for example, even in the dream state or in Jagrat Avastha, in both cases you can see in the dream state it is seen more clearly. Supposing you see a table, dream state, which is Jadam. So there is no such thing as pure Jadam. Why? Because even in the dream state you are conscious. So the tableness is actually superimposed upon you as Jadam, but it is not Jadam. And the same thing is true even now when I'm looking at the table. My conclusion is this is a table. That conclusion is based on my consciousness. My conclusion that this is a table requires me to be conscious, just like in the cave of dream. So there is no Jadam, no Sakti. So the Atma is not apragyam. So I think I can even just pause at this point. Na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na ubhayatah pragyam, na pragyana ghanam, na pragyam, na apragyam. And then this will continue with adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekatma pratyayasaram, prapancha upashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante. So here it is considered to be the fourth. Manyante, this is an important word. Manyante means it is not really the fourth one. It is considered to be the fourth. And Saha Atma Savigyeya. So I'll just conclude with one story that I might have told you before. So this is several years ago, about 10 years or so ago. So one of the students had told me that there is a Christian priest in Cupertino who wants to understand the tenets of Hinduism because she has heard of the word Turiyam and she's fascinated by it. And so, can you please spend some time with her? So I said, I'll be glad to. So I wrote her an email saying, I understand you wanted to get some introduction to Turiyam and so on. So she says, yeah, that'll be wonderful. Can you please come to my office? And that was my first mistake. You know, if somebody asks you to understand, they should come to you. That was my first mistake. Anyway, I didn't. So I go there. I was okay. I didn't think about this. So I go to her office, and she's actually, I don't know where she is now. I've even forgotten her name. But she had a church, and she was the head of the church. She used to live close to it, and she had a staff of people. And when I went there, I was honored. Given a seat, closed the door, and she says, "Okay, everybody leave." And then she said, "Okay, tell me about Turiyam." I remember this so well. And so I started to. She says, "I understand this is something very, very unique about the Hindu thinking. So I want to understand it." So I said, "Sure." So here, just imagine this. So now I have to collect the entire thing about Atma, Anatma, all in a few minutes. And, then she's just trying to grasp it by listening to me, sincerely listening to me, but nothing happened. Nothing happened, and so on and so forth. And Turiyam, fourth one. She says, "What's the exact meaning of Turiyam?" I says, "The fourth one." "Why is it the fourth one?" So then I explained this thing to her, and so on and so forth, space. My own understanding perhaps was not as detailed as it is now, but I did it. Nothing happened. And so we ended up by saying, "I want to pursue this more." So I gave her an idea. I said, we have a an American lady by the name of Radha in Berkeley, and I think she would be a better person for you to talk to. I just got out of it. That was the last I heard. So this is my story of Turiya. Om Swasti Prajabhyav Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Kshovarahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yeah.
When you said unnecessary things we load, like relationships and all these sort of things, and then it says it is unnecessary for Atma is pursuing towards that is unnecessary, correct?
Pursuing toward is necessary. Pursuing.
When you are pursuing.
To understand that things are unnecessary, some things are necessary. That's what I said. To understand that everything is unnecessary, some things are necessary for the time being. To go from ajnanam to jnanam, some things are necessary.
But then you said like, when you're loading up things, Atma doesn't have any effect on loading or unloading.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. Yeah, Kalpana?
As far as the meditation, we're saying Nirvikalpa Samadhi or meditation should be the right way to go?
No, not necessarily. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi or any Samadhi is useful in order for us to do some Chitta Ekagrata, which is to focus our mind away from all the distractions. So that is necessary. That is very necessary, some meditation. But the yogic meditation, which is an end in itself, with the Nirvikalpakam, difficult to achieve, but very pleasant, very, very nice, is necessary. Because that is not the end, is not the final goal. You cannot reach enlightenment. Yogis will become, no yogi become wise. You have to understand the tenets of what Atma and Anatma is in order to really gain enlightenment. And so it is certainly, if you want to do that, and if you wanted to have the practice of being away from all the dukkha, just like it is. He said that you already have it for 8 hours during the night. You know, where are you? You are the same person as before. That doesn't show you anything. So the wisdom there is that there is a seed of my problems, which is the ajnanam, Maya Shakti. This is the seed. And what happens is that during the night, it goes back, the seed is very much like, for example, if you have a huge tree and the tree is gone, but it has all the DNA starting in an invisible form in the seed form. Exactly like the sat. In the deep sleep also, your whole vriksha, all the tree of the samsara, is withdrawn into the seed form. But the seed form will sprout again. And the only way the seed will not sprout is if you burn it with the fire of knowledge. So therefore, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, to answer your question, is okay if you want to just enjoy it for a few minutes, but you are enjoying it for 8 hours anyway. What difference does it make? That's what it's all about. Go in for a meditation, which is Vedantic meditation, where your Shravanam and Mananam now fructifies in the form of Nididhyasanam. And so there is no shortcut to this. You have to understand life all about, everything about life, everything about what's happening to you. And only then you can make an intelligent conclusion that I don't need it, I'm independent. Something like that.
That means the cervical samadhi, where the thoughts are still going through your mind and you're trying.
Yeah, so we don't even think about whether it's savikalpa or not. You, whatever state you are in. So there, of course, the focus needs to be, awareness has to be on the nature of the Atma. But a presence of other things are necessary. It's kind of like, something someone has been told that this is not a snake, this is a rope. Then you can even, do this and say, wow, I cannot believe this. How did this snake, you can even try to recreate snake. And so there will be a state in understanding where the snakiness and the ropiness will coexist. And that coexistence is very useful. You say, wow, I can do this. So, and Vishama Sattaka, both Anatma and Atma is necessary. Otherwise, you will come with the wrong, there is Anatma, then I am Dukhi. Whenever there is Atma, I am Sukhi. And I want to be Sukhi, so I don't want Anatma. And Anatma is going to be there. As long as you give it reality, then it is. So the whole thing is to go from Sattaka to Sattaka. Yeah.
So say if I want to start meditating, say this year, that's my, Sankalpa. I haven't been doing it so far. So how would I start? I need a guided meditation.
Yeah. And I think that we will begin to do more of that, but even without doing it, what you will do is learn to get into habit. And I think this being more on this class, we should really start to do that. But you would learn to bring certain concepts in your mind, and you do it one at a time. See, so for example, you can just the fact that I am not born. Aham ajaha na jayate. So you can just do a meditation on that. And then just meditate on the fact that what do you mean I'm born? I am born. But then my conclusion that I am born is based on something that I'm associated with. Like that, I'm not giving you the whole thing. So you can just do a meditation on that. Or I am Swata Siddha. Swayam Prabha. Or, as we were discussing tonight class, I am Ananda Aspada. I am the very source of it. Like you can just do that. Then you can come back. So we will do all of that, I think. In fact, to also I was thinking, but I just thought that being a new class, we'll just start with a complete. So yeah, something like that you would do. But in the Vedantic meditation, you have to follow Shravanam. You have to see what is it that I'm learning, and not get ahead of the curve. Yeah, something like that. Yes, Surendra.
In Sushupti Avastha, Sukshma Sharira is not there, but Karan Sharira is there.
Correct.
Which is same as the Ajnanam. So in Nirvikalpa Samadhi also is similar that
Yes,
it's
yes.
based in the Ajnanam.
Yes, absolutely. Because until the enlightenment takes place, Ajnanam is, I'm almost
That's
there.
the cause of Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Correct, yeah.
So following that, the vikalpa in the nirvikalpa samadhi is identification. Sir. What is vikalpa?
No, vikalpa just means, as I mentioned before, there is a difference between drashta and drishya. And in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is only darshanam, but no drashta and drishya. There is darshanam. There is just meditation. No meditator, no meditated. Just meditation. So that is there, but that meditation is also tinged with ajnanam. Yeah, that's all.
So meditation on each one of these things that we're learning in mantra 7.
Yes, very much so.
As he was mentioning last week.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but that will come. So even in the 7th verse, even though it starts with the negative, it will then transition into the positive pretty soon, right? So up to adrishtam, etc. Then avyapadeshyam is the negative. Then ekatma pratyaya. Starting with that is the positive. It's kind of like this is not a snake. Actually, this is a rope. So that solidifies. So when a person says this is not a snake, and the person who is telling you this is not a snake is a trustworthy person. So when he says that this is not a snake, then your vision of snake already is weakening. Already, because now you say it is not a snake. But you don't know what it is. So to follow that up with saying this is a rope solidifies it. So that you don't need trust with somebody, your own experience gives you that. So similarly here also, ekatma pratyasaram pancha upashamam shantam shivam advaitam chaturtham manyante